Hi guys.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, so we're having a bit of a takeover episode today.
Yeah, we are.
So you're with Georgia, we've got Keely and Dayna.
Hello. Waving to you guys.
No, we're waving on a podcast. It's
I
classic, classic us. We are taking over a little bit. We're the newest people to the Kid Link team, so we're the most recent new grads. We sometimes like to pretend we're still new grads.
Absolutely.
Sometimes
Claim it
we
while we
like to
can.
pretend, I'm not a new grad, I know everything. So we kind of lean in and out.
Yeah,
We're all in our
so true.
third
dependent.
year.
Yeah.
And so we thought it would be really cool to have a little episode about what new grads might like to look
what
for.
we wish we knew.
What we wish we knew.
So many questions.
What sort of things are important to consider, particularly relating to like our own experience, but what we know of our friends and all the colleagues now that we've made along the way. So do you guys want to jump in, like let us know your little backstory? How'd you get to the spot you're in right now?
Yeah. Well, I guess I can kind of speak for the three of us in the sense that we all went to the same uni.
Yes.
So we go way back a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess for me, my path was pretty direct to get to Kid Link. Like, finished up degree. We'll get into sort of how I landed, I guess, in private practice, private paediatrics. But yeah, for me, it was very much I explored a little bit of the idea of going into the public health system, but ended up here straight from uni. That was my journey anyway. What about you, Kills?
Yeah, I also went straight into private practice, but not here. So I did my grad year at another private practice, and then moved into here. Last year, at the start of last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm similar to Dayna. So Dayna and I were on the same intake.
Yeah.
And we all kind of came in at that. This is my first job out of uni as well. So acknowledge there's probably like a little bit of bias in our experience, but we've got a really diverse team that we're a part of, and all of our friends from uni as well have kind of gone into different pathways. So we're kind of going to speak to that a little bit.
It's so broad.
Oh my gosh. When I talk about like, I could literally do a completely different job tomorrow and still use my same degree and my same knowledge.
Yeah. Or the amount of people who've asked me like, oh, you're an OT, you would know about my hand. And I'm like,
correct.
Yeah, it's like, my grandpa needs a wheelie walker. It's like, I don't do that. I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. Yeah. So even one of my clients' mums is an OT. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. You're clearly coming to me because you don't know what I do either.
So
but we're both OTs and that's part of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder, I feel like just straight off the bat, like how did you guys find your grad years?
Ooh, I feel like Kills. You should go first with the difference.
Yeah, because you had a different kind of experience. Well, I guess, it's really individual. But
Yeah. I mean, grad year is overwhelming. I think
it's massive.
For anyone, I think in any career, first year out is huge. But acknowledging how big OT is and how we've just acknowledged how broad OT is, like it's a really big year. Like you're learning life skills, you're learning all about OT as well. And uni is so broad and you don't get to delve into the specifics of whatever you end up going into. So it was huge my first year. And I worked at quite a big place as well. So my last workplace was quite big.
And multi-dis too, wasn't it?
Yes, I was about to say, there was, we had speechies and psychologists as well. And I think they've even grown more now. So it's quite a big team, which is awesome. And it was really cool to have that side of things and learn all about, all the other different roles as well. But also hard because you had so many different people inputting and you could get lost in that big team as well. So
And super different to, I guess, what George and I are used to with just having the OT dynamic to work off and being supervised by other OTs and just being so much in that OT brain. And I wonder if were you supervised as OTs or were there a mix of, because I've heard, I guess, my other OT friends from in multi-dis teams where they've had their supervisor be a psych, and that's really interesting transfer of skills in that sense. Yeah.
No, so I still had OTs as my supervisors who were awesome, and I think that was definitely my my favorite time of the week was like supervision because in the outs of that I did feel lost. It was really hard of just knowing what I was meant to be doing because you don't learn it at uni, like in terms of private pediatric work.
I think we did all of 2 weeks from memory at our uni.
Yeah.
Which is clearly not enough with how big this field is.
Yeah, for
completely.
sure.
Especially as well, and I know this isn't everyone's experience, but like for all of us, we went straight from high school to uni to the workforce. So this is our first time in a full-time role, first time like in a real job.
What do you mean my retail job wasn't real?
It was a real job. You learn a lot of skills, but it's not the same as also like the level of accountability that you have when you like I still remember that first week when I had my first client assigned to me and I was like, wait, but I actually have to go in there and talk to them now. And it struck me and I was like, this person is getting help from me. Like I'm doing
that
this job.
syndrome.
It's happening.
Oh, imposter syndrome.
I remember seeing my like signature on the email for the first email I sent out and I went, whoa.
That's not huge. Student. It's not under the supervision of. It's not. And this.
It's just OT. Occupational therapist Dayna. I was like,
that was a cool moment.
Cool and scary.
No, absolutely. Do we want to get into a little bit about? I know we were chatting off mic before about how interesting it is with like private practice versus public and what the messages were like at uni and all that sort of stuff. I want to like get into it a little bit.
I find it really interesting because I think, and I guess for the three of us being at the same uni, we felt that public was quite the pathway that was really emphasised to us.
It was really encouraged.
Highlighted. Like this is sort of the golden path, I guess, and encouraged. And I remember asking one of my lecturers about their thoughts on private and I guess I didn't really explicitly say it, but it was quite, I guess, implied that, it's risky and you don't really know what you're getting yourself into and, you don't know about the supervision structure. And I think like that actually almost deterred me from going into private practice because I thought, how do I know how to pick a good private practice place? And I guess that was something that was running through my head in terms of like, I guess, in a public health system, you do have that structure of grade systems and the supervisors and it's very quite clear and laid out for you. But I guess in private practice, it's different from place to place.
People get to choose and directors get to write the story that they'd like you to kind of follow under and all that sort of stuff.
So like you can understand why at uni, the public system is pushed because you are, we just talked about how overwhelming that grad year is. And so to know that you are going into quite a structure like would be reassuring. But I think what's hard is if that's not of interest to you, then you don't have much support around what do I want in private practice? So you feel lost.
I think particularly being quite keen on paediatrics. There's not a lot of like graduate public options for paediatrics. In my understanding across many disciplines, a lot of them are kind of like different pathways, but like a lot of graduate positions are private practice for paediatrics, for speech as well. I think another thing that's interesting, like knowing a few people who are like nurses and paramedics and things like that, how structured their grad years are and how their grad year is basically an extra year of uni where they have to tick off all of these KPIs and skill components and all these things. Like OT, because it's so diverse, they couldn't make a list. There's no list they could write that would actually check off the boxes that everyone needs in different settings. And so I understand where it's like, it's kind of like less regulated maybe would be how I'd put it. So it's a really, I understand why the message was like, beware. Beware private practice.
I guess I wish though in that sense, like, and like we talked about this as well, being like, yes, beware, but that message being know what to look for at least. And at least so maybe some nuggets of wisdom to pass on to us.
Set us up for success if we are going to do it.
If you're interested in that, like not to say don't do it, it's not there, but look out for this, this and this. And I just feel like that wasn't really communicated to us. It was kind of like, do it at your own risk. And I was like, I actually really want to work in Paeds. And
Dayna,
on that.
That's a fantastic segue. Let's give them our tips and tricks because uni didn't give them to us, but we've lived it. We've done it. We're on the other side of the hill. I think some days, like I was saying, some days we're like to pretend that we're the babies of the team.
Halfway rolling down the hill still.
And
some days we're feeling really good.
And that's it. And that's life. That's okay.
But
what sort of nuggets?
I would have loved an episode like this to listen to actually, when I'm going into interviews, when I'm looking at workplaces, what do I want to know?
Well, Keely, what do you want to know?
I think there's a few things. Obviously, like, biggest one is the supervision, like
massive.
Asking around that. And I think that's a thrown around thing and word that we obviously know we need, but actually like specifics around what does that look like? What is supervision? What is good supervision?
Long term, I think, is a really big consideration with supervision. some places they do their intake and they're like, oh, you're going to have weekly supervision, but that's for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And then it's
if that.
maybe it's and then it's when you book it in or something like that. Or is it going to be an external supervisor or an internal supervisor, those kinds of things. But no, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
What would you like to ask an interviewer about supervision, do you think, Keely?
Oh, I guess, logistics around what does that look like, definitely. And then I guess almost asking them what does supervision mean to them and what does supervision look like to them, which is something I never would have even asked about.
So I feel like in our mind it's just tick, there is supervision, but it's so much more than that, like you said.
Of course there's some supervision. It's such a broad term.
But imagine being able to ask your possible, future workplace, what is supervision to you? What does that mean to you? That shows a bit of confidence in asking a question like that.
Big time.
But also, cool to hear them come back at you with an answer as well.
I love that, Keely. That's epic. Yeah.
And I think we've been really fortunate, at Kid Link to, I guess, that meaning of supervision being so much about almost from the very start, coaching us as well in our supervisions and asking the right sort of questions. But also, I remember being a new grad and my supervisor at the time was really clear to me on focusing on the skills that I'm developing in therapy, or outside of therapy and inside of therapy, but not so much the outcome. And that really stuck with me because I don't know about you guys being a new grad and feel like a fish out of water, but thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not seeing progress. Does this family like me? I don't know. But she was like, hey, all of that is actually that's great and all of that, but the skills you're learning on the journey of navigating difficult families or navigating complex situations is far more far more important to your journey as an OT than any that could be. And I think that was an example of, great supervision, I guess. But I wouldn't have really thought about that before because I'm just, as a person individually, I'm so outcomes focused.
Naturally. And, you know, high school, uni, it builds you up to be outcomes driven because you do your assignment for the grade that you get, right?
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense, absolutely.
Yeah. Another one I definitely would ask around is caseload and reduced caseload.
Oh yeah, especially in private practice.
I've heard stories of people jumping straight into a full caseload, and that is huge. And it's
I know
my heart just took it is just not practical. As new grads, you need so much more time to research and actually find out, because like we said, we don't come into it knowing it all. Finding out, but then it takes you more time to do notes. It takes you more time to ask around, get that informal supervision as well. That's the awesome thing about our team at Kid Link. We've got an open office, which is dangerous, but
it depends if you're on a silly day or a locked in day.
But it's awesome in the way that you can just so easily be like, hey Georgia, what do you think about this? Or asking those questions as well. Definitely reduce caseload to have extra time. But something we were talking about this importantly as well is that more time without understanding direction doesn't mean much as well.
It just leaves you sitting there to go, I don't know
stewing
what I'm
in
doing.
those thoughts of I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm ruminating, I'm worried. I think as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope I'm allowed to share this about Kid Link, but one thing that we have within our KPIs is within each kind of grade or level or whatever we want to call it, an acknowledgement of the fact that if you're a new grad, it will take you 50% longer or 100% longer to write your first NDIS report or to, do your first handwriting assessment from top to tail. And a real, it's been a real protective factor for me to know that was 100%. Written in and acknowledged. That, and it's not that you bill a family more because you're newer or anything like that, but it's that you will be allocated the time that you need to get things done. Acknowledging it will take you longer the first time you're doing it when you're learning how to do it. And that's the same even, because it's luck of the draw with your caseload, with skills that you develop sometimes as well. I know that Dayna and I were chatting the other day about how I have a really young swinging caseload and she has an older swinging caseload, and then she got a young one and I got an older one, and we were like, we're going to need to help each other out here. Technically we're at the same point in our career, but it's what has come across your desk.
So true.
And all of that sort of stuff is important to consider. So I think having a team, and this is probably good for maybe the clinical leads or the supervisors who are listening, who are looking to hire a new grad, consider what you're actually what's actually realistic for a new grad to get done, and communicate to them that you expect that it will take them longer.
I don't know how many
and
times
they will need more questions.
That was so validating to hear on the first year, 2 years of
you sit
work.
there and you're like, we built an hour for this, but it took me 2.
Yeah.
You feel like you're failing.
Yeah. Again, coming back to that outcomes, and like I think that, like you said, just having that, it's written down, like, actually, I don't need to put that pressure on myself to be at this level that, and I guess working in a big team, so many levels are present, and especially, and I guess for us, we do grade system, but we are all in that team together. And you're just surrounded by the different levels all the time. And I guess in that sense, it can be so easy to go, oh yeah, I should be there. And why am I not there? But actually, hang on, bring it back a second. It's actually okay. And it's, again, super validating, and at least can bring you back to yourself and go, actually, I'm doing all right. And I am still a new grad. And that's totally okay. Learning is going to come. It's not going to come, but it's just going to take time.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Dayna, do you have any kind of big ticket items that you wanted a new grad to hear from us today?
Yeah, well, I was going to say on that, what I would ask from an interviewer was, where can I get that learning when there's so much to learn? Where am I looking for this? It's yes, there's so much to learn, but what is good PD? What are the PDs that I should be doing or that they recommend? Has the team, do they have a focus on PDs and upskilling the team, and what does that structure look like?
Are they open to an OT Link subscription perhaps?
Good luck, Georgia. I like it. But absolutely, I think that's we can get so much learning and informal learning off each other, which is invaluable. But I think actually going to those PDs and upskilling in that sense is also really, really important.
I think some of our favourite ones that we ticked off really early, and I definitely spoke about this on the coaching episode that I was on. Jackie Snyder's coach approach. This is and I think when we talk about like thinking like an OT or thinking like a clinician, thinking like you're working with a whole family, all these sorts of mindsets, coaching is a real tool that you can use to help you have like a perspective about how you're communicating with families. So you don't necessarily have to be rigidly doing coaching as it is written. But having that kind of perspective to apply the way that you're asking questions and the way that you're acquiring information from a family. You may not have had any other experience of acquiring information from a family, vulnerable information about their child.
Absolutely, it's such a skill to be so vulnerable with families and know how to one, ask for, and then take, and hold that information when they do give it as well. Such skills.
I know the other one that the three of us did together was CPS, or Collaborative Practice Solutions, by Ross Green. And I loved that one also for the fact of, I think it really highlighted to me that we don't have to have all the answers. And very much the difference of, and I won't go too much into it, but I guess the importance of collaborating with the family and the child, that they have the answers that you work on together. It's not, I have the solution and I'm going to put that on you now and go and do it. That's actually quite ineffective and damaging.
Which is often what they want, though.
Some families, they come in, they say, can you help? Can you just tell me what to do? And it's like, that's not going to help anyone.
No, that's right.
So it's like, also, no, I can't. I don't have that answer, actually.
I'm not a magic fairy that can just wave my wand and do that.
That's what I say. Otherwise, I wouldn't really have a very good job. You'd be in and out of here in one day if I had a magic wand.
That's right.
But I think the Ross Green training was epic.
And I think it shows that in that those early days, those first couple of years, a lot of the PD is more sort of general, and it's just helping with building that knowledge, building those skills and understanding. And we were also really privileged at Kid Link to get a lot of internal PDs that they had done. That is available to people as well.
Yes.
OT Link once again.
But
plug.
But they were so helpful. I remember part of my onboarding process, even though I had that year pass, so it was my second year out, but still, part of my onboarding was just watching all of our options for PDs as well, which was great in just giving me knowledge and understanding how our practice tackled things, I think, as well. Absolutely. Is that and that's important in that
what is the ethos of the community that you're in, the team that you're in?
Different practices will do things
differently. Are you in a team of 2? Are you in a team of 17? Are you in a team of 57? I don't know. That really changes it a lot as well, and I think that kind of speaks to what you were mentioning earlier, Keely, about when the team is a bit larger, you may not have the same relationship with everyone, and or if you've got a team where everyone kind of works different days, or if you're working in a clinic where you're in community. See, like for us, we're quite protected by the fact that we all work in office together within the same hours. But I know I have friends who have worked in, you know, community kind of from the get-go, and it's those like phone calls on the road that they're kind of leaning into, and having to make a bit more conscious effort to find time to be in the same room as their teammates and things like that. And that's probably another tip I'd give new grads, is to like ask questions about, and this might be like once you're in and going, what is it like, when do I get that informal connection and that debrief, and what is my process, who is my person that I can call if I just had a session that just went terribly,
absolutely,
and what, like, who can I just let things off my chest to or process out loud to.
That was part of my
if you don't have that, that's a problem.
That was part of my experience, was that in that first year was, like I was saying, like a lot of spare time. I did have that great reduced caseload, but a lot of time, on the road or by myself without that community to just go. And so that's why, when I got to Kid Link and just had that open office of just like, oh my goodness, there's so many people that can help me.
The good, bad and the ugly, everything.
My introvert self actually was like, well, but so blessed. Yeah, it's really great.
It's just, we have those days, and it depends what kind of shift you're on, whether it's really, really loud in the office or really quiet, and it kind of suits you best. But I think, maybe having a think about what does suit you best. Are you someone who's like going to be exhausted by hearing a lot of people, or do you think, do you want to join a bigger team or a smaller team?
That makes me think of, like, just on that, how I remember at the very start we filled out something to talk about our learning styles, and I think that was a really nice reflection to then actually go to my supervisor with and go, this is how I like to, I guess, receive learning and feedback. And I know we've just had our last podcast on feedback, but I think that was really helpful to communicate to my supervisor, this is the best way that I receive feedback, and present that to her so that she could also
adapt her supervision to match you.
Exactly.
Was that was a quiz that we did that kind of spat it?
Yeah.
We're going to have to put that in the show notes. I don't know what it's called.
We'll dig it up and find it somewhere.
Check the link. I don't know. That's Katie's job later.
George, was there any other things that you thought of?
I think it was really helpful for me. This might be more about once you're kind of in the job and going. Something that I did, particularly in my first year, was keeping in touch with the people I went to uni with, particularly those that were also in private practice and
Such
paediatrics. We'd catch up and have like regular dinners and kind of just talk about it all. And it would show me like the light and shade of different environments, and it made sure that because sometimes I'm like, I love my job so much that I'm worried I have rose-coloured glasses on, which it's kind of lame, but it's true. And he was like, no, I feel really confident. Like, I'm really lucky with what I'm getting here, or this is really suiting me. Or I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, I wonder what would happen if I brought that up to Jackie and kind of mentioned I'd wanted that, or all those sorts of things. And I know one of my friends had one of those moments where she was like, that's a great idea. Took it to her boss, and her boss was like, that's a great idea. And it's like, that's how you get, like, your peers will become your colleagues, and your colleagues know what you're doing them more than anyone else does. And I know probably different for us because we were in uni during COVID. So that was really complicated about how people were forming relationships and things like that. Most of the new grads coming out now will have had most of their degree back to normal.
And placements at least.
And they would have had more than 2 placements. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
And not online.
Not
online.
The
Took us back there for a second.
It was really hard, but we did it. So those are things to think about as well, is like, find those people that you gel with and you have those relationships with. Also, we practice and practice and practice teaching our families about occupational balance.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to do it for yourself. I remember in my grad year, I was like, I'm actually just like sleeping more and eating more. I'm exhausted. I've not used my brain this much, even when I was in uni.
Goodness. That brain power was
a massive adjustment. And I think acknowledging, like, sometimes you got to just like push through and go out with your friends and do things, or keep going to your sport or whatever you're doing. And sometimes you're just going to be like, no, I'm actually going to rot for the whole weekend and that's all I've got in me.
And being okay with that.
Because
being kind to yourself.
So hard. You've got to really like OT yourself. To put it that way. I think we know how to be an OT. We're learning it.
Yeah.
do it yourself.
And I think that's why as well, like keeping your peers around who are going to be going through that very similar transition is also so validating to go, oh yeah, okay, I needed that week to just do nothing as well. Cool. Like it's a human experience, and it's a very hard transition, I'd say, especially from us going from a bit of like that online experience, locked up. Yeah, it was just even human interaction was just navigating how much of that was like coming back into our life as well was a big thing. But absolutely.
I think we've acknowledged a lot like how uncomfortable and overwhelming and scary this first year is, or as you start. But I think also knowing when you're feeling too uncomfortable, like when it's when it's
the line between like, no, this is actually information that this is not working versus this is just hard.
Because I think absolutely validate yourself that it's okay that it's a scary year, but if you are really like I'm drowning here, this is not, I can't keep up, then that's not normal. Like, you have
absolutely.
supports around us, and yes, we laugh that it was hard, but we do.
There should be light and shade. There should be ebbs and flows. If you're getting no ebbs and you're only getting flows, or whichever one's the good one.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I have no idea.
I don't know either.
More light than shade.
Yeah. Or like I think
net positive.
Difficulty and being in discomfort with no learning. I think is a really clear distinctor.
We were just that. That's
exactly.
a great point.
Totally discomfort without learning.
That's just suffering.
Yes.
Or whatever Jackie said.
It's awful.
I think one last thing I think we can touch on. I wonder, like, what was your favorite thing about going into paediatrics?
I think
we got to give them some positives. We got to turn it up.
Awful out here.
Something that I know you've said like and enjoy, but it's the most like loved thing about my job, but also sometimes I find it scary. But is that it's just like, yes, every day is different. And that can look maybe a bit different to like the public sort of system, which you can get into a bit of a rhythm and routine.
Especially
I think
when it's more acute, so it's a lot similar. Ours is like much
you're going
more
through
long-term.
it's black and white. You know what you need to do. Whereas our job is so cool in the sense that it's really broad, and I think that's overwhelming for me sometimes. And sometimes I just love the right answer.
Just tell me what to do.
And there's no right answer.
We can't have it all.
No, there's no real right answer, I guess. It's working with families, and it's understanding the child and working with the child, which is really fun and really cool.
I guess for me, and I guess that is a big part, like what Keely's just mentioned is a really big part for me as well, of how dynamic and how broad this job is. But I think to add to that, I think that working with families and practicing the skills of like actually listening to understand and not, I guess, coming in it feeling like, I guess the idea that I had of the therapist being like, I fix all these problems or whatever it is. And fixing is not really actually what we're trying to do here. We're collaborating with the families.
Almost never.
Almost never. I can say with, almost with a lot of certainty, no.
But it's such a privilege to get to journey with families. It is such a privilege.
And I think that's what's been my favourite part is that it is a journey, and that the ebbs and the flows, it all comes with it. And I think that building that trust and that sense of safety with a family to be vulnerable together,
I love that point.
To go through that journey and go, hey, I'm trusting you and you're trusting me, and I don't take that lightly, and I actually carry that with a lot of weight, and it can keep me up at night sometimes. But it's such an honour. It is such an honour, and I think that
is. Oh my God, you put that so beautifully.
Yeah, I really loved that.
I'm like, we really do that. No, I don't even know if I have anything to add from what you guys have said. I'm like, I agree. That's exactly it. It's like, at the end of the day, it's the families and it's the kids, and they're kind of like worth showing up for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even like the harder ones, sometimes it's like the best work. I don't think you get through an OT degree without developing that OT thinking brain.
Yeah.
And once I started to realize, like, no, I can make sense of this problem because I know how to think like an OT, not just because I learnt this one thing once.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Once you trust start to believe that you like can think like an OT.
Yeah, and I think that's something that uni gave me, if nothing
else. And that's what it is. And that's what it is.
Yeah, being able to think like an OT.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Lovely.
That's probably where we'll leave it.
Yeah, that was so fun.
So fun. Thanks to Jackie and Katie for letting us
Thank
take
you.
over today.
Trusting
we
us
really
with
hope
this.
it was helpful for people to listen and just
helpful if you're if you're considering hiring a new grad, if you are a new grad, if you're a couple years in, if you're like, no, I'm going to pivot and be an OT.
If you're the one feeling drowning.
That's it. If
you're
you're
not
like
alone.
in the pits of it, it's really normal.
We hope it's helped.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. See you next time.
See you later.